Welcome to the Spirit and Soul Healing Podcast, where we speak about all things related to spirituality, soul level healing, intuitive guidance, frequencies, and much more. I'm Amy Sikarskie, licensed vocational nurse, past life hypnotherapist, master intuitive energy healer, and a clairvoyant physical channel. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Spirit School Online, where we offer courses in energy therapy, free guided meditations, courses and information around learning to connect in with your spirit guides, and much more. You can find me at amysikarskie.com and offerings at spiritschoolonline.com. Hi, welcome to this episode of the Spirit and Soul Healing Podcast. I'm Amy Sikarskie, and I'm so happy you're here today. I have some information on my mind. I have a share that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. I've been speaking to some friends and on Telegram in our school's chat about a recent experience, actually multiple recent experiences that I've had. And I feel in a space that it would be beneficial to share with everybody here on the podcast. And I find myself in a space where I think I've done enough integration that I can comfortably speak to my experience and have more information to share with you. So I want to welcome everybody for being here. As I was setting up my recording equipment, I could feel the energy shifting, and it's hard to put into words, but I just feel very much at peace. I feel very much connected to source, to spirit. I feel connected to the energy of life on earth. I'm like right now just looking out my window. The seasons are definitely shifting and changing. It was sunny this morning. Now there's a storm coming through. So it reminds me about seasons of life, seasons of change. And there's a really warm vibration around. And my hope is that you can feel that and feel the peace and comfort that is here for you from your own connection with spirit, source, God, your higher self, angels, guides, whomever or whatever frequencies are the most supportive for you in this now moment. So I've talked many times over the past couple of months about past lives. I've brought it through or mentioned a little bit about it, and also about the energy on earth right now for healing. And around 2019, I would say maybe 2018, I definitely kept getting messages about a shift, timeline splits, energy that was coming in to start that process, and that it had started and it was happening. Well, over the past 4 or so years, I have felt the different waves of energies, and I'm sure you have too, the different influxes and the intensity of frequency, and then the lulling and the calm and the quiet, And I don't think I've ever felt it as palpable or understand it how I understand it now. And this energy right now is definitely here. I'm hearing it's ripping through dimensions. So we are feeling it. It's here on the earth, and it could be exceptionally disrupting. Or we might look at this as an opportunity and say, okay, how can I utilize these frequencies to support my growth and my development and to get clarity? And one of the very first podcast episodes that I shared was about clarity. And I find it's very important. It helps on every level of healing to have clarity and awareness of the unseen energies, behind the scenes, or other aspects of the situation that we are experiencing. And when things come up to be experienced, I often find it's an opportunity for healing. So I have been feeling a lot of energy lately, and I've spoken about that, about the collective energy I've seen in my personal life with those that I communicate with, and then also with the collective and with clients, that the energy is really kicked up right now. And there's just extra stuff ready to be looked at, worked through, healed, cleared, released. And so I have been going into a space of more of like quiet contemplation. I'm not interacting as much, just being selective with my time communicating with others in the physical and also in my connections with spirit. So I have been incorporating more alone time and self-care time for myself, quiet moments and days without added pressure or without any expectation of the day. And it's allowed me a chance in that quiet space to let the energy come to the surface and present itself. And having been in this awareness and in this way of receiving, this receptive frequency, I have had experiences happen in the physical. And one of them was a text message that I got, and it was a group text message, and it just brought through all kinds of emotions I didn't understand. I was like, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? If you look at the words that were spoken, it really didn't align with or make sense to how my body was responding. I could feel energy hit me in a funny way, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. So that was where it started. And I would like to use the word emotional, but I don't know that it would come through. I don't know that it would really come through in the way that I want it to come through. So let me say I've been very sensitive and receptive to energy, and my body has processed it through the emotional field, through my emotional intelligence, through my emotional body, especially my heart chakra. And then I've been utilizing my clair gift of clairvoyance and discernment at the crown and the brow chakra to figure it out and really get clarity on it. I've also been using my voice to speak about it. And particularly when I worked with another healer, to speak my truth and my experience and see what additional messages they received. So after this experience, the energy right now is, I want to say it's something else, and it is. It's really active, but it's also very beneficial and it's very supportive. So right now, I would encourage you that whatever's coming up, to feel the emotions, journal it, dance it out, maybe use art, any expression of art to get it out of your body and help let it release so you can understand it a bit more, and also the way in which it might have been presenting itself in your life. So I went to my healer and I got more information. And when I went to her, I didn't really even know why I went. I actually went for a massage because I was like, wow, I've been doing a lot of work and energy, and I would love to, take care of my physical body. It's been a while. And, but it wasn't strictly massage. In fact, again, it turned into more energy that I've been holding in my body. But, um, you might have had that experience too when you're in a really relaxed space that allows you the opportunity to connect in with the interdimensional realities, the quantum field, different layers of lifetimes. Messages can come through. All the clairsenses can activate when we're in a really relaxed state of being. And that happened, which was nice. So what I experienced is when I went to see her, just like, oh, these areas of my body feel really tight or there's a pressure. And as we were just greeting each other, kind of talking about what's been going on lately and how things have been, a few topics came up. And also on my drive there, a few topics came up as I was preparing, my energy was preparing. I just had all these like flashbacks and memories of things that had happened in this life over the past few years. It was an opportunity that I had where I was reflecting on those experiences. And oftentimes it can come through what we would call really random. So I was like, oh, this is so interesting that this memory is coming through. So I would encourage you that if you are preparing for a healing session, or if you have those moments where past memories come through, really right now they're coming up from the subconscious, and the energy body is feeling the new light codes that are coming in. All this light on earth is pushing out disruptions, distractions, dissonant energy, things that maybe we've been holding on to for many lifetimes even. And that's what happened. I was like, oh, okay, but I didn't even think about it. It was like a daydream experience where I recognized it and then it floated away. Well, in my session, I started to talk about some stuff that was kind of private, but it's not like anything that's a big deal. It was just stuff that I was experiencing in life. And one of those things was I mentioned to her how I had taken a little bit extra time for myself away from conversations and put some boundaries up in my energy and the time that I am available and share so that I can have that space and that opportunity to let this energy work its way through. I mean, I feel like there's a big flush of light coming on right now, and I can feel it. So I really felt guided to take more days to myself, and it produced some amazing results. So when I was there, I shared with her that I felt this pressure at my chest. I felt this pressure at my heart that was almost like I'm supposed to be doing something and I'm not. And even to set aside time for myself, I had to put it on my calendar and make myself take it because I felt like there was this internal drive to do things and I didn't really know where it was coming from. Well, as we started this session, she's like, I'm really called to use some essential oils. And the one that she picked was lime. And she looked up the spiritual significance of it, and it completely matched what I was bringing forward. And the definition in the book that she had was all about being and recognizing how we're doing so much and we don't have to really worry and stress ourselves out, and just kind of let it flow, give yourself credit, take time that we need, and that kind of a thing. And I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. So that is how the session started. And in the session, it was a massage, but I noticed a lot of emotions come up, and I would get visions. And some of them I didn't really understand fully. So I just shared, oh, I'm seeing this. And then she expanded on it, which was nice because then I could just relax and receive and process and integrate, and also to allow somebody else to provide a perspective, like outside perspective, an outside viewpoint. And I would see images, and then she would see another part of it, and then I would see another part of it. And it was just a beautiful experience. And all throughout, I could feel my body relaxing deeper. I could feel myself lightening, just expanding. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was carrying all of this internal pressure or this self-imposed stress. I make my own schedule. I work with others based on an internal desire to help others. And what I had noticed was that it was starting to feel that my schedule was a little cramped. Not my time working one-on-one, but everything surrounding that and everything in my personal life and like social media. And it just felt like I was thinking to myself, could I double the amount of time in the day? That would be great. So it kind of felt like my energy was getting pushed, or it felt confined. And in that session, it started to release. And the first vision that I saw, I remember, I'll share, it could sound really graphic and upsetting, but when you when you tune into past lives and these visions come through, you may feel the emotions, but I did not. Um, in this scene, I just observed, and it looked like a series of clips out of different movies, but in them, I was being controlled. I was like, I didn't have freedom. The first vision that I saw, there were two men on either side of myself. Our arms were linked and they were dragging me and pushing me, and they had control over me. I didn't have any say. And this was way back. Like the outfits kind of looked like the 1800s. It was dark, or kind of dark at night with cobblestones. And then they gave me over, they pushed me, and I went in another scene of another lifetime that was very similar also. And I think I was beaten a lot in that lifetime, and I'm pretty sure I died as a cause of it. And then I went to another lifetime and another, and I mentioned it, and then I said, I'm having all of these visions come in. What are you getting? I'm having all these visions come in. What's happening here? And she saw that I had many lifetimes where I was a slave or an indentured servant, or I didn't have freedom. Um, Even where like the family, I was requested, or it was assumed that I would play a certain part or a role, and I didn't have the opportunity to really spread my wings or have a say over my experiences. And what I recognized in all of those lifetimes is that I was always working and my life depended on it. Whoa. Like, even saying that right now, I can just feel a deeper layer of shift with this aha moment. So in this life, when my desires and my inner calling and my passion and that what I really loved developed to be this experience and opportunity that provided income, and then it could be labeled as work. That was a fine line that I was balancing within myself. But again, I love it. Every time I work with somebody, I absolutely love it. And what happens for me is the time when I'm not doing something, when I'm not interacting or staying busy during a moment that I feel like, oh, I should be, quote, working, then I felt this unsettling energy come up. And that's what it was. And this is where it started to clear and to heal. And I recognized it. I was like, oh, okay. So after that experience, whoa, everything shifted. Like, I immediately felt like a different person after that session. She said that she saw chains on me and that releasing, shackles releasing. There was, I don't know if it was this particular session, but recently there was energy surrounding me that was entrapping me, holding me in, and that released. And I can tell you, I felt it. I have felt the release. It's been so powerful. It's been so amazing. It's been so deeply healing, where I'm able to take a deeper breath. I'm able to sit in silence for however long and not do anything and be okay with it. My nervous system being okay with it. And I always wasn't like this. I think that it just started kicking up recently more and more, because this was something from multiple lifetimes in the past that needed to be cleared and to heal. And I got a very deep healing on this. I wasn't even intentionally planning on it for my for my day, for my experience. It was so nice. It just came up, it just came through, and it was so, so beautiful. In the process, one of the visions that I saw was a little alarming. I didn't understand it until I vocalized it. So again, using your voice and processing and speaking or journaling really helps us to integrate. So let me share with you the scene that I saw, and you let me know if you get it like right away, which you might. I just find it fascinating and kind of funny, kind of interesting how when we're in a session as a receiver or as a healer or somebody listening outside of it, we see things in a different way. But it was near the beginning of the session after she mentioned that all those chains and everything were released from me. And these were, if you're not familiar with really the depth of past lives and the quantum field, these chains appeared in my energy body. She could see them. I had brought them over. It was a imprint, a programming. It became and it was a belief system. It was stored in my energetic field. It became a part of my, we'll call it subconscious. It became a part of my persona. It became a part of my energy, and I could feel it. And I didn't really know why. In fact, to the point where I was like, I should be able to take the day off. I'm going to put it on my calendar. This is going to be my day off. And that was kind of the only way within myself that I could feel good, was like, if I made taking time be a task that I could check off, right? So again, it's like putting it as something to do was the only way that I found recently I could just relax. And so in the energy session, you bring light, you bring energy in, you bring understanding, and you let that light alchemize and release and heal and clear. And that's what happened, is that these energetic imprints, and I'll call it like a holographic shackle, multiple ones released and cleared away, and I physically could feel it. So it was really just profound and very healing. I'm at a loss for words. I'm exceptionally grateful, deeply. I can't even. I'm still processing a little bit to really understand, and also then to step into my new way of being. And it's pretty easy, I would say, that before I felt there was a resistance to it, and now it's like, oh wow, this is flowing really nicely. So that's one part. But I totally digressed. Let me get back to this vision that I had, and let me know what you think. So I was there and I was feeling all the energy shifting. It started to feel amazing, deeply healing, very peaceful, expansive. And I saw myself in a field with grass, but it looked like straw. It was a field with tall grass-like plants, but they were brown. So I don't know what that's all about. And then in the distance, there was a one-room schoolhouse. And then I saw this girl running towards me. And that was where my focus was on this girl. She was young, like 12 probably, running towards me. And then I noticed all these other girls behind her running towards me. And I was a little taken back because she didn't stop. As my awareness was on her, she ran right into my body. And I was like, whoa, wait, what is that? I was so confused. I was like, why is there a spirit running into my body? And all the other ones, same. They all ran right to me. And before I could fully get that thought out, I saw another vision of a Black woman, probably, I don't really know where she was from, but she had this beautiful white cotton blouse on with a long dress, and then she had a headdress on, and she was carrying, I think it was water on her head, and I saw her walking also towards me from this other path. That one-room schoolhouse was still there, and I saw her walking towards me, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I calling in? Like, why are all these spirits coming towards me? And so I turned around and I saw this big field, and there was a circle of many people there and light all around. And I, at that point, knew that I was getting involved and I wasn't letting the scene play out. So I was like, okay, well, whatever's happening here, I know I'm supposed to be the observer. And nothing felt off. It just didn't it just didn't make sense to me at that moment. So I spoke it out loud to my healer. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. It's a soul retrieval. So I have been calling into myself many aspects of myself through different times and space. And there were many ages and different ethnicities and from different places in the world. And when I turned around and I looked into that circle, I was like, oh, okay, there's a deep level healing happening here from guides and all aspects of myself that were afflicted with this energy in the past. And that provided such a depth of healing. After I got that awareness of what was happening, additional scenes played out, and they all spoke to something that had happened within a week. So it was like, okay, this all came through. Oh, wow, that makes sense why I felt uncomfortable in this group chat. Oh, that makes sense. That's why I felt exceptionally emotional when this particular conversation 2 days ago happened. So it was like that. So when you have experiences in the physical and you recognize that you are more sensitive to those encounters or the conversation, the topic, and it doesn't even have to be about the exact details. It's the energy, and it's the energy that comes through. So feel into the energy and try and listen to your soul and your body. Not like, oh, what is politically correct or what is the narrative right now or what's happening, on the news or social media, what's happening on the world, and I should feel a certain way. Don't go based on other people's experiences. Let all that go and listen to your body and your energy. How do you respond? And if you're extra sensitive around something, this is a clue or a hint that it could be something that was related to you in another life or this that's coming up for clearing and healing. And it's not to say that you won't be guided to see things and absolutely agree with what's happening on the world stage and in the community, but you want to make sure that you're looking at how your soul is responding. If you are trying to look into the process of, could this be related to past life and could it be related to healing? Another thing is stuff that might come up from years ago or patterns. If it just keeps coming up, that is a strong indication that there is something there within your energy, and it could be past life or it could be this life that you are experiencing, and it's an opportunity for you to look at it closer and to heal. And you might say, well, Amy, that's cool. Like, you worked with a healer and you're clairvoyant, so that must have been easy. And I'll admit it helped. It was very supportive. I'm so grateful. But the real part of it is working with the energy and the emotion. And you can journal or you can speak out loud. As I mentioned earlier, you can dance or do some art to get the energy out of your body. You can also use sound and scent to help create a space that feels really relaxing to you. You can put music on, you can use toning and mantras and bowls, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago. So there are tools and techniques and practices that you can use within your own experience in processing the energy and letting it release. And you might not ever really even know what it's about, but that's okay. You'll know later on at some point. You might not know in this life, but your soul knows. And you can also receive clues as things start to clear up. And in the future, you recognize that you're responding to things in a healthier way than what you had in the past. So in our Telegram chat for the school, I shared a little bit about this because I kind of went quiet for about a week. And I was like, I am integrating. I had this experience. This is a little bit about what happened. And so some questions came through, and I was just really grateful for these questions. And I'm so happy to share them right now. And I would love to chat about them. So the first question is, what are the biggest differences you've experienced physically and energetically with this shift, my recent shift, my recent healing? I can relax. I've noticed my nervous system has relaxed. I've noticed that I'm not doubting myself, and I'm not putting pressure on myself. And I know this all came from within, even though these thoughts would be often like, how do I want to say it? Let's see. Okay, let's say if I hadn't posted on social or something, I might be like, oh man, I was supposed to. And then I stop within myself and I'm thinking, says who? Why? Where did that come from? So that's interesting. So it's helped me get back to posting because I love it. And that's initially how it all started. So that energy that started to come through and strengthen that would had me feel I had to, or I was supposed to do something to please others, or because it was expected of me. I would think that's a good way of it. Expected of me. That's gone. I mean, these are tiny, microscopic, energetic signatures that really affected me on a subconscious way, but would play out through physical opportunities and, would manifest in the physical world. And when I would study hypnotherapy, we would be like, oh, that all came from the subconscious mind, which absolutely it can. But this was energy and it came through from past lives. So that was gone. There was a faint vibration that I was aware of from the past lives that was surrounding, I have to work. My life depended on it. I had no other choice. And I even remember saying the other day, it was like, why am I stressing out about like a schedule or not doing enough? It didn't make sense to me. It was like my body was saying, hey, you need to be consistently producing or working or doing something double and triple what you're doing now. And even if I hit that goal, it would be, again, okay, there wasn't time to really just be accepting and happy and relaxed for the moment. And this is something really deep within myself that I need to heal, and it is healing. So right now, I'm feeling emotion come around it because my guides are saying I'm still integrating. So integration is a whole process where we have the awareness and then we hear it again or we process it again and we go deeper with it. So that is something that I am working on, and it's internal. And it's there's a little vibration of how I see myself and what's acceptable to me. It's so wild. It's so interesting. And I know that a lot of that came from these other lives where I had to perform. I had to do, it was not even available for me to relax. And I haven't had this my whole life. Like I mentioned, it just recently came up, and it's because the time right now is right for me to clear it, to heal it. And I had that soul retrieval. So after that soul retrieval, oh my gosh, I told my husband, I have had heart expansions before where the anatomy of the heart chakra widens, it opens. And it's a whole process. It's a great experience. It's like, wow, amazing. It feels so good. But the last week, what I felt from that soul retrieval and healing this wasn't that my chakra expanded, but it had more energy in it. There's a glow of frequency. There's more light there that I'm carrying. And it's mine. It's my energy that I left somewhere else. From trauma and fear and just sadness, I left it in another dimension. So, yeah, when the girl was walking towards me and the woman was walking towards me, those were pieces of my soul from other lifetimes walking towards me, and it went right in my body. And I didn't feel scared like my emotions, but my brain, because I'm because I see spirits and, I deal with that kind of thing of entities attaching to people. I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? Is this safe? What's happening? But absolutely, it was so remarkable, so beautiful, such a deep level of healing at a soul level. And so that brings me to the next question. And I also have another story that I just remembered that I want to share from that experience. So let me flow to the next question and then we'll get with it. So the next question is, and by that I mean with your body, your environment, and around you, including people that you are around a lot during the whole process. Okay, so what are the differences I've noticed with my environment and those in my lives? Um, it's been a little bit more relaxing. I think I need a bit more time to have those interactions before I can really speak to it in such a way, because I've actually been solo almost this whole week. I did see a friend for a day, but my husband was traveling and it's just me with the pets. But it was perfect because I noticed that I was processing. And so I would get this swelling of energy that felt good. It was a cathartic cry kind of vibration at my heart that was a release that kind of felt like grief coming out. I didn't actually physically cry, but I could feel it processing out of my body. And then I had spurts where I had a lot of energy, and then some nights I was like, I'm going to go to bed early. And so I could feel it all still taking place. When I tune in to it right now, I feel it tingling in my legs. So there was something that had happened with that frequency I was holding that was being stored in my legs. And now that is gone. I'm hearing movement. Yeah, I feel more flexible in that I'm okay to move more than I was before. I feel like before I started to kind of feel like I was needing to be in one particular place for a long period of time, which is so silly. If you know me, I've moved actually a lot in this lifetime, but there was something about that I was still carrying with me. And so with conversations with others, that text message that had bothered me, um, I ended up understanding what that was about, and maybe I can chat about that a little bit more in a minute because that did switch within me in a really good way. It was energy I was kind of trying to just hold at bay because it felt really uncomfortable. And so, look, there's two stories that I'll be sharing with you here in a second. Let me see what the other questions are. From the moment of going into the past lives and coming out, how were the days afterwards? A lot of contemplation, a lot of feeling energy moving, a lot of peaceful emotions were coming through, a lot of joy and gratitude, and this feeling of becoming more myself and whole or wholer, if that's even a word, I don't know. But more integrated, and I kept getting visions of my body holding more light. I've had some significant sessions and meditations and healing experiences January and February, and I didn't even think to ask before to put a measurement on it, but now I can say I'm holding more light, and it's a higher frequency of light, we'll say. So that's been pretty incredible and beautiful. I'm really grateful for that. And it's also one of those things where it's kind of like, wow, okay. So it's where I'm sitting in that wonderment of a child being open to the experience. And as it comes through, just very grateful and fascinated. And I didn't get any more in dreams. She's asking if I had more past lives come through in dreams. That can happen, but I didn't have that. I think because there's so much that happened in my session like we hit a limit where there's a number or there's an amount of energy, there's something that's a limit where it's like, okay, what would be safe for the body? We really need to honor the healing stages. We need to honor the integration. We need to honor the space before, during, and after the healings. So I personally have not seen in dream state many more of those. So let me share about 2 other experiences before I go into more questions. One of the visions that I had, okay, I was like, why did it even come in? So what happened was I had felt a very uncomfortable energy in this life come through in conversation. And actually, now that I think about it, it was multiple things. So I saw some online chat threads that I just observed I didn't agree with because it was people attacking other people, their beliefs, and I just felt like it was really misguided in a way that it kind of looked like it was supposed to be coming from a heart space, but it was creating separation and judgment, and they were attacking not one person, but people that would not agree with them. And so that I recognized, I saw that a couple weeks ago and it was just so icky. A part of me was like, oh, I want to say something. And the other part of me was like, no, that energy is sticky. Like it's trying to pull people in. And I could see it like wrapping around the mind in like a smoke that was trying to pull people in. And that can happen. Like having understanding of boundaries and when to get involved and when not to get involved is really important. And as I mentioned last week and a couple times before, when we're dealing now with some digital conversations, don't feel like, well, how do I want to say it? Be aware that there's energy involved, right? And just it depends on where you're at with things and what the energy's intensity is and your boundaries, if you will feel that or not. So we don't always get affected. It's not like I'm saying limit and separate, never go on social or anything like that. But I had just noticed that experience. And so that did not feel comfortable. Then I was part of a group chat and I felt an energy, but I didn't know where that came from. And in this vision, I saw a woman who I was looking at her and I was like, oh, I see this woman. And then what it all turned out to be is it was myself in another life. And I had been misunderstood by my community and shunned out of the community for doing the healing work that I do. And we have that, right, as healers. Um, so I've never really like identified with feeling afraid of my gifts or not speaking my truth. When I was 19, 20-ish is when I had to really learn how to speak about what I was interested in and with Reiki. But that didn't take long. It was just like trying to figure out the way to describe it back in the day when it wasn't that popular. And but I've never really been, I don't know, I've never in this life really been afraid to just come out and say what I do. It's been more like how is the best way to say it. And in that life, I was judged incorrectly, or I don't know, I was judged thinking that I was doing evil witch magic or something, and I was a healer. I was holding light, and I got that I started to kind of come into my gifts, and I was really helping as a healer around the age of 29, and then around the age of 33, 34, 35 is when I got pushed out of the community, and I lived, I don't know how, I don't know all the details, but I lived like out in the woods, and I started living with nature and all of that. And then I died, and I felt a sense of kind of sadness that I was misjudged. And I felt a sense of sadness that those that were close to me couldn't see me for who I am. And I felt a sense of sadness that there was separation and labeling being put on me. And I felt a sense of sadness that I didn't get to live out that life in the way that my soul originally had wanted to and to help people. And I still felt very dedicated, and I felt in my soul very much like I wanted to support the community. I think I probably died early because of my physical condition that I was in now. And what I just noticed is I went into this tree and I stayed with her, and I stayed with Earth for a very long time. And I found so much comfort and so much peace there. And I was able to complete what I wanted to complete by residing within this tree. And I could see and I could feel myself in the tree, and I could communicate more with nature. And I had animals come by. I had energy come and sit with me. It was telepathic heart space communication. And then looking at the scene from an outside perspective, I could see all this light emanating off the tree, kind of going towards the village, protecting it or holding space for it, blessing it. In that life, I felt misunderstood and judged, but I wasn't angry. It was confusing. So that was really interesting. And that was something that created a really significant shift in myself. I was like, oh, okay. That's why in this group chat and all these threads I've been seeing lately, it kind of like upset me even more, or I don't know if I want to call it upsetting. It hit me harder. There we go. I didn't get upset, but I noticed the intensity of it. And I was like, oh, that doesn't feel right. What's going on here? So that life, I think I stayed in human years for a very long time until I was ready to leave and cross over. But what's interesting is having seen myself die alone and what happened and not crossing over, that's pretty emotional for me now. Like, that is pretty emotional for me. And I have mentioned on Telegram that my relationship as Amy right now has shifted when it comes to death and that process. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, I was pretty cool with it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's natural. We all die, when it's time and we have our afterlife experience. And I know some people transition over and I know some don't. But that was just really sad to me to have witnessed that. And so I feel like I am going through a mourning process right now. And that's a part of the transformation of the integration that is helping me within. I feel like there's a part of me that never really, or maybe not fully, honored myself and my commitment to that life, and saw things from an outside perspective. And I was alone, and it's so funny because, I could cry. There's a lot of moments in this life where I felt alone, but I wasn't physically, right? And I think that maybe in those moments something could come up that reminded me of those past experiences. Something came up where I felt alone. And I think that that's another part of me right now that I'm healing, is that feeling of separation. And I want to say that I'm sure many of us are feeling that because we don't come from a space of separation, a realm, or frequency. We come from a place of unity and love and community. And so that in itself, coming to earth, there can be that feeling of separation from God and spirit, source, and our soul family. So it's just really interesting how there are these little themes or moments that I've experienced in my earlier years, not fully understanding them, and now receiving some answers to them, which has been so amazing because in that healing process, I feel stronger. I feel complete. or at least to another level. It's as complete as I have felt in this life. I'm sure there's always room for more, more goodness to come. But yeah, so my right now my relationship with death has felt different because I feel like I've been mourning um, lifetimes where I had a challenging close of that life. And to this, in the same breath that I'm speaking right now, I'll just share that in that past life, I saw, well, not that past life. I'll just share that in that past experience, I also saw other lifetimes that balanced it, that were so full of love, so full of community, so full of understanding, where I could, I call it work my magic, let the light shine through and be a healer and not be shunned for it, not be threatened for it. So I have had many of those lives. So right now, I'm sitting with this energy and just letting it process through. I'm holding it in my heart. It's a loving of sadness is what I feel. I feel like I'm holding all this light around this little ball of sadness until she's ready to just dissolve and let go and smile until my heart's ready to, bring joy into that space. And it won't take long. We'll be there. This will be probably a week or two for integration. But so that's really interesting, right? Um, let's see. So in our little chat, the message says, I've woken up from a past life dream where I died and started to cry so much. What pointers would you give someone who has this going on but may not understand energetically, why this is coming through for them? And I would say let the emotions come through, because that can be you right now, but it can also be your soul. Um, overall, it is your soul, but, like another higher frequency of awareness where your soul is processing it. And they're also showing me right now, just as in that vision, I saw this other part of me come through as this girl that was younger. The part of you that is in that other life is receiving a deep level healing and soul retrieval and integration as well when we have these memories and these lifetimes. So let the emotions come through. It's the most natural thing. Let's not, fight anything that's naturally healing. So cry, and then I would journal out your feelings. And if you could put a color to it, a shape to it, an experience to it, where you could say, I don't really know what this is about, like where the source came from, but it reminds me of maybe a story or an experience that you've had, kind of putting some texture to it, conceptualizing the frequencies a little bit can help you really integrate and process and move through any uncomfortable energy and any fear. Fear is a big one. I'm just sitting with that for a second. Fear is a big one. But essentially, the blessing is to know that you've done this before, and we have more wisdom in this life than we've ever had in the past. Especially if you're listening to the podcast, there's some conscious thoughts and understanding and wisdom that can come through. This recent experience brought through many visions and different aspects of healing, and I've shared a couple of them with you. There's one other one that I wanted to share because it was related to something I said previously, which I can't recall. And I said I would share it. So here we go. I had so much happening in this session that was lovely. And it took me to another space and time where I was definitely in another reality, if you could say, frequency. So in the quantum field, accessing and tapping into different vibrations, they look like lines or threads, maybe threads or strings on a harp, let's say, like strings on a harp, and each one has its own tone, each one has its own frequency. The light looks a little different. And so I could feel I was touching, like if you put your hand and you just go across all of the strings of a harp. It was like that. I was going through all these lifetimes really quickly, accessing information and pulling data and finding ones that needed to be healed or that were related to these particular experiences that I had had in this life. And then it would just come to my mind. It would just come to me. And like I mentioned, even if you're not clairvoyant or understand what's happening, you relax in the experience. You let the energy come in and you can feel the shifts take place. So, one of the beautiful aspects about this for myself was getting to be in a very comfortable, safe place, feeling and knowing something was happening. And one of the visions that came in was I saw these skeletons and they looked like plastic robots and they were dressed with top hats and suits. And they were pulling me, a woman, which I ventured on to say was me. But in my vision, I could see this. I'm like, oh, what is that? And it looked very cartoon like. It reminded me of maybe a theme park surrounding like Disney where they create this scene and everything is not actually real, right? So I was in this room or this space and I was pulled through these doors, two skeletons on either side dragging me, just like the first vision was. And this is interesting. This was closing of the session, kind of either side, arms, interlinked, dragging me forward on this red rug. And as I got closer, I noticed there was this little platform. And I looked up and I saw this energy start to swirl like dust or energy swirling, spinning like tornado, and then coming into physical form or all the little pixelations coming together and creating a human, so an outline of a woman. And I understood her position to be where she felt she was the queen. She kind of had the energy of Disney's Queen of Hearts and Alice in Wonderland, where it's like my way or the highway and just really, firm and it is what it is. So I saw that and I saw her energy and I felt her questioning me. And I felt the questions were like, what did I do? And who am I? It was just basically this whole vibration of questioning me and that she had to approve of me. And I was like, no and no. And whatever happened in that vision, it was playing out where I could feel it in that same space. So this was happening in a quantum reality, all playing out. I'm watching it as I'm listening and experiencing it and feeling. And it would just, I got that feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't answer to you. What is this about? And so I kind of just sat there for a minute and I recognized that from within me, this light came out and this light. And then I was like, oh, there we go. That's my power. So I felt all this light come out of my heart chakra, this love, and it went over to this holographic image of this queen, this woman. And I watched it, that vision disintegrate and it just cleared it. She left, she disappeared. And I would say, it was healed by the light. And then the skeletons that were on either side of me also just crumbled into dust and disappeared. And then I lit up with all of this light and turned around and walked away. And so what was really interesting is I'm like, what in the world just happened? Like, that was incredible, but what did that mean? I didn't know. I was still in this space of receiving and not analyzing. So I was like, whoa. And I just mentioned to my healer and she took a moment and then she kind of laughed. She was like, oh my gosh, my guides are saying this is the energy of somebody that tried to pull me into their frequency earlier in the week. And I got this vibe like, oh, that doesn't feel good. I don't know what this is about, but I don't want to engage in this conversation. And And she said it was like they were pulling me into their energy that's their skeletons in their closet. And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know if that fully makes sense because I'm not going to share everything because it's kind of private, but that was the basis of it. And so another aspect is it's so fascinating. Sometimes I'm like, this is definitely a past life. Like I will see things and I'm like, this is definitely a past life. I might not fully understand it. Let me watch it play out. And then other times my guides will show me scenes or I'll work through things in a quantum field kind of a way where the energy creates its own um, reality and like its own life. And that made sense to me because I was like, these are plastic looking mannequin robots, skeletons with a hat and a jacket on. This is so interesting. So that was a message, I would say, from my team and my soul, like, hey, this is what's happening here. Where does your power lie? My power was in just giving love, not getting pulled into it, and not feeling that I had to answer to judgments or requests or try to prove myself. And so, gosh, it's so fascinating. I want to share one more thing in response to a question that came through. And this question is, how did I take care of myself? What did my self care um, involve? What did it look like during the integration process? Well, here at the time of filming, it's only been a little over a week, I would say, since this particular healing session. And I've had a lot of solo alone time. I've had a lot of time of doing nothing but actually being. So I've had a lot of time, like I reorganized my kitchen, something that I wanted to do for a while, clean out the cupboards and drawers. And I was able to do that without any pressure of a timeline or answering to a schedule. Um, I was able to do that because I enjoyed it and I wanted to. And it wasn't a task, let's say. It's something I'd thought about, but it clearly wasn't at the top of my list or I would have already done it. So it allowed me a chance to be in an integrative space where I was quiet and contemplating. I was moving around. So I was also very conscious of my emotions and the energy that would come in. Like right now, my heart chakra, I can feel is feeling with more energy and also fluttering a little as it's clearing some stuff. So I'm still processing everything, and I went through different waves or hits of that over the week. I felt a lot stronger. I've also, as I mentioned, gone to bed earlier. I've been eating really healthy. I haven't had any thoughts creep in that were low about myself, where I'm like judging myself. I'm also feeling a lot more free in my sharings. So, I don't know. I was like, should I share some of this stuff? And I mean, I'm keeping some of the private parts private, but for the most part, I'm sharing a lot of my experience and I am feeling more confident in that it's okay to speak my truth. And it's interesting because I never would have doubted before that it wasn't okay. It's just that now I have this resolve within me. Like I feel full and I feel like there's no blocks impeding me and that I have the energy to do it and it's coming out really smooth and crisp and clear in the way that my confidence is sharing it. Maybe I paused a little bit as I was thinking about how to share something or remembering some details, but overall, I'm feeling very much free in speaking my truth. And I never thought that was blocked or that it wasn't as enhanced as it could be. And as I share this with you, I think that goes back to the lifetime where I was kicked out of the community for being me and being misjudged. And there was a lot more that happened in that session, but the reason why I originally wanted to share about my experience was those that I've been communicating with to kind of let them know why I went quiet for a little bit and that I'm processing and integrating things. And then as I shared a little bit about that, there was some interest in it. And so I'm hoping it gives you some insight into how sessions can work and to share with you as a clairvoyant channel, a healer, what my experience is like in a session, and yours can be the same way. These types of things happen in meditations. And if you're trying to clear something, you can go in meditation and say a mantra over and over and see if anything comes up. Now, it always will. There's always a benefit to it. It's bringing in light and it's bringing in healing energy and pure tones and sounds. So, therefore, if there's anything that's resistant or dissonant, you'll feel it and you can clear it if the timing is right and if your system is ready to let go. So I would say that this point in time right now is so supportive, but it can also be disruptive, right? But it's so supportive in helping you if you can align with it with your intentions. And we say our intentions and we speak about or we write down, we become aware of the themes and what's been coming up and relax and let your soul and spirit help in the process. But we're moving to this other space and time. And as I say that, I'm recognizing that I'm wording it incorrectly. We have moved there. And many of us have already shifted, and we went through a few series and stages of that where some people in our lives kind of dropped out of our life and we haven't spoken with them in a while, and we go within and we strengthen our own experience with ourself, our own relationship with self, and then other people come into our life. And so it's a whole beautiful experience. And I think that some of the most important aspects of it are respect and compassion, a calm understanding, holding of space to allow things to process through, to release judgment. And judgment and discernment are different. Judgment comes with a vengeance or a anger or like this energy of disdain. And judgment can come with a really icky vibration, where discernment is like, okay, I don't agree with that. And you separate or you keep your energy clear. So when we have judgment, we're creating another cycle of an exchange of energy, and whatever we hold within our thoughts as a judgment, or if we gossip and talk about something in a judgy way, we are feeding into this interplay, this relationship of the whatever it is we're judging. And so it just creates this cycle. So discernment is the way I would encourage it. But this energy right now is amazing in that I find it can be deeply healing. And I find that you are here, we are here for a reason, and we've been gifted this time and space, and we've volunteered to be here in this time and space, essentially to assist in a frequency on earth. And so a lot of that is the added benefits of healing ourselves. And it's a win-win when you think of it that way. So I'm hoping that you found this information supportive and maybe a little intriguing and educational, and that it's inspiring you to look deeper with these little frequencies that might come up, the way that you notice your body responds, your emotion responds to encounters or things that you witness, conversations and that sort of a thing, and be open to the possibility that they could be coming to your awareness in a more enhanced way so that you can heal whatever that is that's hitting on your vibrational field. It hits on your aura and it creates this vibration of dissonant energy that does not feel comfortable. Sometimes it feels like pressure. So journal, dance, sing, meditate, eat healthy, relax, take a long bath, spend time in nature, and take care of yourself. So I want to leave you all with this message and just let you know that it's an amazing time. And while it requires work in the sense that we are observant and we are aware, we are present with the process, you can also let yourself relax from expectations and let it unfold and be present and let the emotions flow through and sit in a space of receiving healing. That's the best way for it. So I want to leave you with that. I hope you all have an amazing day or evening wherever you might be. And I'll see you again here on the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Healing Podcast.